bars.
Bars. So have you watched any of our episodes yet?
I listened to like
Watched?
the first.
Have you watched?
I listened to like the first half of the Just One of the Guys one until I got bored of hearing myself talk.
Oh my God, Mark.
Well, I'm very boring. I can't help that. We should call it the Two Boring Guys.
That seemed to be our most popular episode so far.
Because people love Just One of the Guys.
Do they even know what it is?
Yeah.
Testing.
Everybody on that forum is like from our generation, right?
It's true. Remember that time I unplugged my fridge? Never plugged it back in?
Oh, yeah.
Coke or cherry Coke?
Just Coke.
Or Diet Coke?
Diet Coke.
Okay, well, we get a can for that.
That's fine.
I hope you go to hell.
Why?
Well, because it's diet.
And I'm going to die.
It?
Hey! It will die me.
Sure, I'll mix this with alcohol.
Cherry Coke and rum.
Rum? It's Maker's Mark's not rum.
I thought
Maker's is whiskey.
I see a bottle of Captain Morgan right there. We're still recording.
When I've got Maker's Mark, our audience is going to think that we're alcoholics.
I'm not drinking anything right now. I didn't even open my can of Diet Coke.
Mark, put down the absinthe. I think we're getting worse at this, actually. Is that possible?
Wait, what?
Are we getting worse at this?
At podcasting or getting the TV ready?
Both?
Well, it's your TV, man.
You haven't even had anything.
I had a Diet Coke here.
Oh my God.
It's got carbonation.
You need help.
What am I supposed to do with all the bubbles? I can't just keep them inside
Blow
forever.
it out your blowhole? I don't know.
That's what I just did.
So how's your week been?
It's been okay. I just took an editing master class.
Ooh.
Which was like half shit I already knew and half useful because it was actually a very good career editor looking at my work saying like, here's how you can improve this. Let's play around with it.
Can you say names?
I mean...
Do you even remember the guy's name?
I can. Steve Cohen. I said that just in time for the logo to pop up on the TV.
The logos you can't stop because they're... It's better have stoppable trailers.
It's a collector's edition.
Oh my God. You can't even stop the trailers.
It's not a trailer.
All right,
This is the menu. Alright, pause it.
Right.
Pause it!
I'm pausing. I paused.
Alright,
paused.
The guy's name was Steve Cohen. And he's written a couple books about using Avid, and one of them I've been meaning to buy for a long time. I just haven't. But yeah, it was a good class. And
What's he edited?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't done my homework. I just took a class, man. He didn't spend the whole time going over his CV.
How do you know he's a master?
Because of the way he taught the class and the way he went over all of our scenes and said, gave us little pointers on how to improve the cut.
Sorry, Mr. Cohen, if you're listening. If that is your real name. Did that inspire you to choose tonight's movie?
No. No, I chose this well before that. This has been in our list for a long time, and it's always been kind of like, it seems pretty weird. Let's do something else.
You've always presented it, and I've looked at the cover and went, I don't know, maybe not tonight.
Yeah, but tonight's the night.
Tonight is the night to get it out of the way.
We've got Phantom of the Paradise.
Phantom of the what?
The Paradise.
Um,
Which is, I think, the name of a theater in the movie. So it's like Phantom of the Opera, but it's Phantom of the Paradise.
Looking at the cover, like, this is not a movie I have ever seen or heard of.
The only reason
Nothing.
The only reason I've even heard of it is because I have done film restoration work on it back when I did that for a job, and it was weird. The little bits of it that I saw. I have not seen this whole movie, neither of you.
I have not.
So
The only thing I saw on the back of this was written and directed by Brian DePalma.
Yes.
One of the. I hate calling him one of the best directors of all time because I don't necessarily care for most of his movies.
Yeah, I don't think he's one of the best directors of all time. He's one of the most well known. He's one of those.
If you asked our friend Steve Phelan, he would say we're wrong.
Because he
And
did Carlito's
DePalma
Way.
is one of the best. Well, did he do Scarface or not?
Yeah.
He did. Okay, yeah.
Oliver Stone wrote Scarface, but DePalma directed it.
Well, that makes sense. And Goodfellas, no?
That was Scorsese, dude.
Jesus.
Jesus.
No, not Goodfellas. I'm thinking the other one.
Snake Eyes.
No, what was the one with Kevin Costner?
Untouchables.
Untouchables.
Yeah.
Did he do that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
That was his that was a big studio thing though. He didn't have I don't think he had as much De Palma style control over it. And
you really think they took control away from him at that time of his career? Because I feel like he was
like 89,
really in his
90?
peak.
I don't know.
He had already well established himself as a quality director at that point.
From what I remember about The Untouchables, it doesn't seem like a very quote De Palma unquote movie. It seems like
Well, when was Scarface?
somebody else took the reins. Scarface was early 80s, right? Was that like 81?
I mean, because I can't imagine him having made this after Scarface.
No,
Looking
I think
at
was
the
like
cover of this
77.
movie, like this looks like a director's like first time Roger Corman kind of style movie.
Yeah, but that is just key art. That's just the poster artwork.
Sure, but just the concept in general, like Phantom of the Paradise, like
Yeah, it's a glam
clearly-
rock opera. in
is
the
it? It's a
70s.
rock opera too.
Yeah, it's a musical.
What are you getting? What attracted you to this besides restoration on it?
The only reason I even had this as an option is because Ashley, my girlfriend Ashley, won it at Drag Queen Bingo one time. This was one of the things she won, so I was like, fuck yeah, we're keeping this. We're not selling this on eBay.
Oh my God, I don't know too many people that could come to me with that story. Say, yeah, my girlfriend won this Drag Queen Bingo.
It's fun. You should go.
I mean, I'm sure it's a hoot.
It is a hoot.
You have trouble with that word. You looked at me like you were gonna choke on it. Hoot. It is it's a hoot. Oh my God. Well,
But honestly, I don't know what we're going to get into besides what I've just told you.
well, yeah. This is the first time we've watched a movie that neither one of us has seen.
Who the fuck is this guy? He's like a famous musician.
How am I
but
can't even see.
remember.
We're sitting in the dark, and Mark just
Paul.
pointed at a picture and said, "Who is this guy?
Paul Williams. That's who that is.
Who's that?"
He's a weird looking little short dude, and he's in this movie. But he's like a
Hey man,
famous
it's not
musician.
his fault, okay?
It's nothing. No, it's not a judgment. I'm just saying he's a weird looking little short dude.
I'm looking. Wow, he doesn't look like anyone.
He looks like Paul Williams.
I mean, I guess.
Are you
Now-
gonna drink more?
We're staring at the 20th Century Fox
Whiskey.
logo, which looks like it's been punched in on by like 200%.
Man, that would be shitty if they had like a full frame transfer and they just
transfer of
cut
this
off the
movie.
top and bottom for the
Yeah.
Blu-ray.
We're set correctly. What else? So we literally know nothing about this movie going into it.
No. I don't know. Besides Paul Williams, I don't know who was in the movie. Brian De Palma did it. I think this was a colossal box office bomb. Otherwise, more people would have heard of it.
Well, it doesn't even look like it would have been a box office movie at all. It looks like,
More of
judging from the cover and the fact
roadshow
that I've
movie?
never heard of this Blu-ray. I mean,
I'm sure
it
it was
made it
pretty
on
low
Blu-ray,
budget.
so clearly somebody likes it out there.
Yeah.
And
I don't know who.
Someone in the drag queen community loved it enough to be like, I want somebody to see this.
Well, it was one of many prizes from the same company as Shout Factory or whatever.
Oh,
There was
so
a bunch of ones.
Shout wants us to see it, basically.
Yeah.
Well,
Got a lot riding on its success in the home video market.
what do you expect this to be? I kind of liked our prejudging the score
Oh.
that we did on About Time. Remember when you gave it a 5.5
Out of 10.
out of 10, and then you said a 55% out
Was
of
it
100.
Mm.
So out of 10, what do you imagine this movie's going to be?
This one's going to be like a 3 out of 27.
3 out of 20. I mean, that's like exceptionally low. That's like the worst movie of all time.
I don't think we're
kinda
going to
low.
like it, but I think we're going to like watching it and making fun of it.
I mean, I hope so. I expect to give this movie probably a 4 out of 10. Probably less than that, actually. Maybe a 2 or 3 out of 10.
Yeah.
So, okay, I guess we're on the same page with that.
Right.
Shall we?
Yeah, let's get on with it.
All right. Good luck.
20th Century Fox presents Phantom of the Paradise, a gothic horror story.
What was that?
A beautiful love story.
Like a circus.
A cinematic odyssey through the rock universe. From Greece to glitter and beyond. The story of a sound, the man who created it, the girl who sang it, the monster who stole it, and the phantom who haunts the paradise, the ultimate rock palace. Phantom of the Paradise.
My music is for Phoenix. Only she can sing it. Anyone else that tries dies.
Phoenix.
Phoenix.
Well, you told me one time that you'd be somebody, that you weren't working just to survive.
Beef.
It's gonna snow! Whoa, whoa, wow!
Man, you better get yourself a castrato for this.
Paul Williams as Swan.
And the angels that defeated them.
I want you to stop terrorizing the paradise and rewrite your cantata.
And the Phantom.
Stop and try me, only you might satisfy me,
Phantom of the Paradise.
There really is the Phantom.
What?
So, Mark. Mark.
I knew it was going to be weird.
Mark.
I wish I had more context for this movie. Maybe at the time it meant something. People were really into music more than they are today. Like, paying more attention to producers' music. I feel like they were trying to say something about the state of the music industry at the time. But maybe I'm giving it too much credit. Maybe it's just a fucking Phantom of the Opera movie set in the 70s.
I guess, what was the state of the state of the music industry in the 70s was basically just disco.
Well, there was disco,
74
that was like
must
the
have been
pop
like-
music. They had glam rock.
This must have been actually probably an awful time for music. I imagine.
Based on what they showed in the movie, they had like the nostalgia pop stuff.
And
doo-wop,
of
things
all
like
the songs that were written in the movie, it's not like they're poorly written or anything.
No,
You
they
know,
weren't.
they kinda
It wasn't
have-
bad music. I couldn't really understand what they were saying some of the time.
But, okay, I mean, this movie encapsulates my 70s nightmare.
Yeah, it kind of is.
There's movies that feel timeless, that were made of that era.
This feels timed down to like the week it was released.
Even Star Wars: A New Hope feels. It's just like 65% timeless, and the rest is like trapped in that era.
Yeah, it's 35% 70s.
You don't feel that in Empire Strikes Back. You feel that in.
Mm-hmm.
In that, you don't feel it. And there's other 70s movies that don't feel like they're of that area, but this feels like.
Well, would you call any of this like amateur level filmmaking? Because I think part of the problem with Star Wars, the parts of it that feel aged, it's because it was his second big movie after THX 1138. It just feels kind of like hokey and poorly staged, and it feels like it was made in the 70s. No matter how much they clean up the photography, it feels like it's some 25-year-old in the 70s making a fucking sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
In this movie, there's tons of like wide-angle lenses. There's a few split screens, which is Brian De Palma's kind of stock and trade. I guess nothing in this movie felt real novice to me. It felt like he was doing it deliberately. It was just fucking weird.
Well, yeah, I was trying to figure this out the whole movie because it's like I said, we're watching it. I don't feel like technically this movie feels like, yeah, this guy can direct. You're watching like visually, it was visually interesting.
Yeah, I can't
But
say
there
this
was
is a boring
nothing.
movie.
There was nothing about it. Well, for me, like visually, it's interesting to watch, but visuals alone can't get you interested. And
we were both
I
kind of
watched
tuning
this
out.
movie and I could not, for the life, there was nothing about it at any point. Not even like there was one point I got silent and I kind of watched it for a second. And I was like, maybe this part will grab me.
Nope.
Didn't do it. And I was trying to figure out why that was, because that's like, as a filmmaker, that's kind of your ultimate fear, is like you're making something and you can't connect with people.
Mm-hmm.
And what is it about that? And that's always been my problem with De Palma in general. You know, occasionally he gets a good script, and another thing about this movie I noticed is that really the 70s were kind of the first time that there were writer-directors.
Yeah, I mean, there were like producer-directors in earlier times.
Yeah, but nobody ever wrote their own screenplays.
Yeah, they just farmed
and
it out to the
directed
fucking
them.
button pushers.
Yeah, and this was written by De Palma. And
Songs written by Paul Williams.
oh, really?
FYI.
And this movie has Paul Williams as an actor in it, if you even know who that is, which you'd probably recognize him like I did.
He was in the Rules
but-
of Attraction.
Yeah, apparently it was
As
in the
Wendell
Rules of
Small.
Attraction, which, if you even remember that movie, but
He's
yeah.
done a lot of stuff. He was the voice of the Penguin on the Batman animated series.
This movie, I don't know, man. Like when I watch Willy Wonka, like if Willy Wonka weren't like so loved and had timeless moments in it, that movie would scare the shit out of me.
Oh, yeah.
Like you just get that weird, creepy '70s vibe, and that's what this kind of has. Like British television from the era, just kind of like this creepy, like I want to crawl back inside of my own skin.
Like British animation. That shit is weird.
Yeah.
From the same time.
It's just, this is that kind of movie that I don't know what Fox. I guess Fox, 20th Century Fox in that era, I know a little bit about because I love another one of the weird fucking movies that they made back then called Myra Breckinridge.
Oh, yeah, you showed me that.
Which was notoriously known as the worst movie of all time for a long time.
Is that Raquel Welch?
Raquel Welch. And it was
As
basically
a chick
made
with
up.
a dick.
A chick with a dick, starring Rex Reed,
Yes.
the film reviewer, who was like the most outspoken hater of the movie after the fact. That movie got 20th Century Fox sued by Shirley Temple because they used because they weren't able to finish the movie, so the director was given free access to the film vault at 20th Century Fox.
Just to like fill things
So he
in.
was like, cool, I'm going to go find all this unused footage from other movies over the years that 20th Century Fox had made, and he edited it into the movie to finish it. And so this movie, that movie has all these weird intercuts to all these other films, and they used this sexually suggestive, like, I can't even remember what it was, but it was something akin to like a milk bottle exploding all over someone's face, and then and Shirley Temple being doused with like a liquid, and then she goes ah, and like Shirley Temple was like aghast when she saw this movie, and she like sued 20th Century Fox. Anyway, point being, 20th
they own
Century,
that footage.
20th Century Fox was in a weird place in the 70s because they had lost so much money from making Cleopatra that they actually sold
What was it, like-
3/4 of
like most of
Century
their
City.
lot.
Century City used to be their lot. It used to just be a farm. And when Cleopatra bombed, they had to sell 3/4 of it, and now that 3/4 is now Century City, which is
Well, that
which was the city that they blew up in Fight Club at the end of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
which I didn't know until I moved to LA, because I was just like, what is that, like Delaware or something? I don't know, I have no idea.
It's supposed to be a stand-in for Delaware, but yeah, they shot it here. But that 20th Century Fox's dismal record with Cleopatra and everything else from that time, that's what set the stage for like Francis Ford Coppola and George Lucas, and this new wave of 70s filmmakers to come in, because 20th Century Fox was kind of going out of business. Yeah. Like they were just like, let's do whatever we can with whatever we have left.
But I don't know that Alan Ladd Jr., who was the one who greenlit Star Wars, a few years after this movie. It probably would have been 2 years after this movie released. After Phantom released, 76 came around. They probably would have greenlit Star Wars that year or 75 before it came out in 77. And I wonder if Alan Ladd Jr. was in charge of the studio at this point or not, but it was pretty clear that they were taking some risks on weird ass movies.
Yeah.
Like this, Myra Breckenridge, which was 4 years before this, but
I mean, really, even Star Wars was one of those weird movies. I mean, think back, it was essentially a rip-off of Flash Gordon serials, like the short films that they would play in theaters before features.
Yeah.
That's what people really thought it was going to be, some huge success. They were just like, fuck. Francis Ford Coppola speaks well of George Lucas. Let's give the kid a shot. That's all that happened.
I guess, I mean, it seems like every studio was kind of going through this at the time, but
especially Fox.
Especially Fox. I can't really think of any other studios though that had such weird movies at the time. I guess everybody kind of had their one.
Yeah, I think they all went through the same thing at different periods, and the 70s happened to be 20th Century Fox's turn.
Right. Because even
did they do The Deer Hunter? Was that Fox? Or was that Paramount?
It might be Paramount.
I think it's Paramount, actually.
But, well, the funny thing to me is that, you mentioned maybe this was, they were trying to make something that felt like it was a play, or like a rock opera.
Right. I had this thought during the movie, maybe DePalma wanted it to be a concert experience in a theater.
Right.
And they hadn't really done much of that. Maybe, when was Woodstock? They had a documentary of Woodstock. That was sort of a concert experience.
It would have been around then.
I don't remember what year Woodstock was.
It might have been 74, actually. Oh. That shows our age, if we don't know that.
I can't.
But, no. I mean, I was watching the movie. We were watching the movie, and I said, "Well, this seems like it was ripped off of
Rocky Horror Picture Show, which came out a year later,
which was made after this." And then you got some other movies, but
it may have been a little spark that inspired Rocky Horror, because it's out there, man. It's really weird stuff, strange characters.
Well, it's out there, but it feels, this movie makes me feel claustrophobic, because it doesn't feel like, there's only one scene that I recall being outside during the day.
During the day, yes.
There's everything else is at night, and it's in this weird 70s setting.
There's a couple when he's he's trying to enter Swan headquarters, when he's outside that big building. That's in the day, but that's one shot. The only scene that plays out outside in the daytime is, yeah.
Well, it did not age well, this movie, that's for sure.
No.
But, Fox made All That Jazz also.
Mm-hmm.
And that feels...
That was late 70s, wasn't it?
Probably. But that also feels like another movie that was shot on a stage, kind of like Birdman was shot all on a stage, and,
mm-hmm.
Maybe Birdman will feel wacky and weird once all the actors are dead,
I think All That Jazz had a lot of location stuff, actually, but the more memorable pieces
were...
Like the big finish was definitely on a stage.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I guess I'd like to ask Brian De Palma what the fuck he was smoking when he came up with and directed this movie.
Well, I mean, I will give him this, when you, it's clear that he has, a vision. If he wrote this and he directed it, this does not strike me as an easy movie to pull off just because it's got so many musical numbers in it. It's kind of big in scope, but the thing he was lacking the whole time is that I feel like he sat down and he thought of this movie visually, and he didn't think of it from a story perspective. But then this of that era, like, I don't know, maybe that's not what they was as worried about. He was trying to be inventive.
Yeah, I think I haven't seen his early movies. I don't even know if you can see them if they're on DVD somewhere.
This isn't his early movies.
No, he's made.
This isn't his first movie.
There were like 8 before this one.
What the?
Yeah, he started in the 60s.
Jesus.
When he was in his 20s. I haven't seen those, but just from looking at the titles on IMDb, it seems like he came from kind of a trauma type of background.
I mean, if this is his 8th movie, and it feels like a trauma film,
The
then
Toxic Avenger sings. That's what this movie is.
and the dude, you said he was like 34 when they made this.
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
that's how old I am.
I would
all I'm
hope,
doing
I would
is
hope
making
that any
podcasts.
director that has like some visual sense about them would be making films on par or better than this by their 8th film.
The only movie of his that I've seen that he made before Phantom of Paradise is Sisters. Have you seen Sisters?
I have not, but I've heard
It's decent.
decent things about it.
It kind of, as far as I know, it's the first time he does his typical...
You said he made this Sisters before this?
Yeah, this is... Sisters was 2 years before this, 72. And that was more of a typical DePalma thriller. Lots of split screens, lots of tension building. It was sort of Hitchcockian,
Okay.
which a lot of people say about his movies.
So what the fuck drug was he taking when he made this movie?
Well, one thing I read while I was kind of bored during the movie, and I should reiterate, I said it's not a boring movie. I did mean visually. It's not boring to look at. It's not interesting to watch, though. It's not interesting to take part in this movie.
No, it was not an interesting movie
But
in that sense.
one thing I read was that he wanted to make this movie in the 60s when he was doing all his early movies, and he just didn't have the capability. He probably couldn't get a budget together or a producer to back something this fucking weird. So, does that mean anything to you? If he kind of came up with it in the 60s, 10 years prior, 5 to 10 years before the 70s,
In his 20s?
does it feel like a 60s movie instead of a 70s movie?
Well, maybe a little, because when the 80s kind of came around, it was kind of like... Well, the 80s was so, like, hyper-masculine because, you know, the conservative base was so sick and tired of Jimmy Carter and just feeling like they've been...
So they made more Rambo movies.
About, yeah. Like, we had a whole college course on this shit. Like, the masculinity of the 80s.
The toxic masculinity.
And, like, we actually ended in the 90s with Fight Club. That was our last movie. the like, post-masculine movies.
Right.
But, like, I don't know how to describe this era because it's not something that's familiar to you or I.
Well, it was, let's think. 60s had the hippies. 70s had the draft dodgers.
Yeah.
That sort of started with Vietnam in the 60s.
But it's like I said when we were watching the movie, like, it's still got the light. It's still got hard lighting, which is a key attribute of movies shot in the golden age of cinema, black and white film.
Nice. High
Hard
contrast
light,
look.
hard light, just blasting on whoever's in the frame.
Yeah, there's not a scrap of film in this movie that looks realistic.
Right.
Everything is like bright reds, bright purples.
And the only diffusion they have is on the lens. They just smear grease on the lens to make it diffused and like make it, you know, the soft lighting on a woman, or they put something in front of the lens.
In front of it, yeah.
But and so you've still got probably an old DP or an old cameraman who's, you know, kind of hip and can talk to DePalma.
And who wanted to experiment a little bit with the
to
wide angle
experiment,
lenses
but
and
you
the
know
long
they hadn't experimented to the point that they don't have Kino flows like bulbs, you know, that are just like the super soft bulbs like they do now. So they still lit it like a black and white film, even though it's shot in color, and maybe that's why the 70s has that very distinct look, I think, because you still have these old cameramen on the way out who are still lighting for black and white, and they haven't figured out how to light for color quite yet, so they're still using the
even though it's been around since the fucking 40s.
Yeah. And you really don't start to get away from that until, I mean, which is funny, this is a DePalma film because he's known as being a part of the 4 or 5 filmmakers that were kind of came up together, like Lucas and Scorsese and Francis
Spielberg
Ford
and
Coppola.
yeah.
Spielberg,
that was that whole pack.
Yeah. And they all came up together and just kind of like inspired each other, and and
it's funny, he may have played a role in that group, but man, he just doesn't have a real notable career in my opinion.
Some people love the hell out of him.
He just started making a bunch of like shitty thrillers and Black
not
Dahlia. That's
not
a horrible
to crap
movie.
all over him. Like I still do think that, the Pacino film, because Carlito's Way. I still think Carlito's Way is a great film.
Never saw it. Maybe I should.
And it's got some interesting stuff in it. But that to me still stands out as the only movie I've seen that he's made that's really solid. I did see he made a film recently with Rachel McAdams and the girl from Dragon Tattoo, the original.
What movie was that?
Her name. It was some weird, like, suspense movie, whodunit kind of thing, and it was like
another De Palma movie.
Another De Palma, yeah, and it was like this weird lesbian entanglement, kind of like murder drama.
Lesbians in De Palma movies, get out of here.
With Rachel McAdams in.
Maybe I'm just inventing that. I mean, it seems like maybe he just makes like quote unquote sexy movies, and I'm just equating that to lesbians.
Right.
But it feels like he's made some lesbian crime movie before.
Be. I mean, that movie though was even that movie had some good scenes though, where it was far more watchable than this. Where they had these actors, or they gave the actors like meaty stuff to kind of work with, but even that just felt like hollow on the inside. Like there's no heart to any of the movies that he makes. Like
I think my problem with De Palma, I mean, aside from the few movies that I have liked of his, like The Untouchables, he's always a guy who's coming from gimmicks. He doesn't worry about the story or developing characters through cinematic language necessarily. He's just trying to show off his split screen techniques or use really long takes. Like he made the movie Snake Eyes with Nick Cage. That the gimmick of Snake Eyes is that it is one long uninterrupted take. Of course it's interrupted and edited together, but it's these long takes that they disguise the cuts, kind of like how Hitchcock did in that movie Rope.
Right. And
that was the concept of
Birdman did the same thing.
Birdman did the same thing, much better. But it's like that was his concern. He just wanted to show off and make an homage to Hitchcock. He wasn't really concerned about making a decent movie.
I can see that. I mean, there's not many directors now that I would say I would compare to Hitchcock outside of Fincher, to be honest. De Palma definitely falls in that line, and Hitchcock wasn't always a perfect filmmaker either.
No, he had some bad ones.
He had some bad ones.
But like De Palma, going back to his little traits, you'll find a lot of split screens in his movies. Carrie has them all over the place. This one has a few.
Ugh.
At the same time, making an homage to Orson Welles' A Touch of Evil.
Right. God, I hate split screens.
I think Sisters had a lot of split screens. That's just a common thing with him. And it's like, once he figured out how to do that in a movie, he never progressed. He never got better. Maybe his crews got better, and like his DP got better over time. But he himself, he's still making movies like he was in the 70s, for better or worse.
Which, I mean, makes sense. Like, I think that's another fear, I think, of mine, is like when you're making something, you want to feel like you're constantly pushing your own envelope. but you do kind of sometimes fall back into your own. It's almost impossible to reinvent yourself. Like you're,
Some people just basically make the same story over and over again.
I'm looking at his filmography right now. So the movie I was talking about with Rachel McAdams and Noomi Rapace was called Passion. That was 2012.
Never heard of it.
And that it was an interesting one. It wasn't great. It was a little strange. Another one that I saw recently, I was watching, and I was shocked at how bad it was, or how classical Hollywood it was, for a movie that's relatively recent, 2006, The Black Dahlia.
Oh yeah, that movie sucks.
I watched it and I was like, this feels like a director that was stuck in the 50s as a director.
There you go.
And was trying to make something contemporary.
Maybe he wanted to do it.
And I watched it and I was just like, what is this garbage? That it felt like it was directed in 1994. And even if it was
like an HBO movie of the
week. If it was at that time, it still would have felt dated. Mm-hmm. This was 2006.
Now I wish I could say like, oh, he must have been doing it deliberately. He was trying to make the movie feel like it came from that period, but I don't think so.
But Carlito's Way felt like advanced. It felt it did have a Scorsese feel to it. Mm-hmm. It felt ahead of its time. It's not like he doesn't have the ability to do this stuff. I don't know what it is. It's that is holding him back. Mission Impossible.
Love that movie.
It's a great movie. I forgot he had directed that.
That's my second favorite
one. And that was the first Mission Impossible. It started the whole damn thing.
Mm-hmm. There's some split screens in there.
Still not as good as Part 3.
Oh yeah, I'm with you there. 3 is my favorite, and then the first one.
Let's
see. The second one. The second one doesn't exist.
Raising Cain.
Never saw it.
Bonfire of the Vanities.
I hear that was another notable flop, right? Kind of like Phantom
of
the Paradise.
Well, that was because the book was so damn popular that book was huge. It was huge.
I was a kid. I don't remember.
I think I just remember that because this was when my one trip to New York in 1989. My dad brought us there, and it was totally the Trump era. Mm-hmm. Not that we're not living in one now, but at the time, my dad was obsessed with Trump. Right, and we went to New York and sought out the Trump Tower and everything, and my mom was dressed like
Ivana.
Yeah, at the time, and it was definitely that 80s Wall Street kind of
shoulder pads
vibe. Shoulder pads all the way. You've seen the picture of my mom and I standing on top of the World Trade Center.
No, I haven't.
Maybe you shouldn't. Anyway.
She could glide down from the top and with her shoulder pads, right?
So maybe he kind of gets caught up, I think, in the moment. He just hasn't been caught up in a moment since the 80s.
I just, I don't know. He seems like he should be able to do so much better. And I guess maybe I'm not giving him his due because I haven't seen all his movies because I'm already not a big fan.
Right. And
so why would I watch all of his movies?
I'm still looking on it. Blowout. That's one that
That's a good one.
I haven't seen, but I've heard it's great.
That's a really good one.
So it's he's got tons of movies. Untouchables, Casualties of War, which was okay.
I didn't care for that. That was sort of it was too simply a black and white movie, good versus evil. Sean Penn as the evil rapist military guy.
Yeah, but half of these movies, I don't recognize. It's he'll make a good one, and then he'll make a couple middling ones, and then some you've never even heard of, and then he'll make another good one.
I guess I get excited when I hear he's making a new one because I keep on going, maybe he'll finally be back. Maybe he'll make another Blowout.
Well, clearly you've liked more than one.
Yes.
And I think I have too. I forget what he's done from time to time. And maybe it's because we both know Steve Phelan so well, and he's such a huge DePalma fan.
And Steve won't shut the fuck up about
Steve.
Carlito's Way.
I mean, it is a good movie.
Since I moved, I live near a bar called Carlito's Way. Steve has never been there. Can you believe that?
Maybe Steve could go.
Yeah. That's the plan.
I don't know what else to say about this movie. We haven't talked too much about it besides.
Just more about the
I don't ever
where
need
it was coming from.
I don't ever really need to see it again.
But it's got like 3 commentary tracks.
It's clearly Phantom of the Opera set in a weird 70s nightmare.
Also, Portrait of Dorian Gray.
Yeah. Okay.
That's thrown in at the last second. I think they just
Right.
didn't know how to end the movie, so like, yeah, let's throw in another.
Yeah, he's trapped.
The fairy tale thing.
He's not aging because he's recorded onto a videotape.
He made
If
a
you
deal with
destroy
the
the
devil.
videotape, then
He'll be mortal again.
he'll age.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird movie.
I mean,
If we didn't even talk about the character Beef.
who was Beef? Was that the
Beef was the big rocker guy, who was like, "What was
yeah.
that?"
Well, first of all,
I guess
Paul Williams' first dialogue in the entire movie, he walks on and he's like, "Get this fag out of here." This is the bad guy's first line in the whole movie. And then, this other rocker who is hilarious.
Yeah.
And I could see why you were giving this movie at a drag queen thing, because they probably idolized this character because he was so flamboyant.
Yeah, he was very flamboyant. I guess it was, Freddie Mercury. It was sort of, he was in that direction, but not quite. Because at least Freddie Mercury had a mustache and was a little bit macho.
Right.
This guy was like big and sort of strong looking.
Well, and this guy clearly struck me as like a straight male actor just playing a gay person.
Yeah, like as hard as he could.
As hard as he could.
But the character, the first time we see him on screen, he's like unveiled in this casket outside at an airport, and he makes a weird face and hisses at the reporters. Cut to the next scene. It's it might be worth the price of
Bravo
admission.
to you, Mister.
Yeah, wherever you are now.
Wherever you, if you're still alive.
He is. I think he's 67 now.
Oh.
He's still out there, man.
Yeah.
Beef
Sorry.
was the high point of the movie. For
Sorry that someone brought this movie back for you, buddy. And cleaned it up extremely well. You guys did a great job on the restoration.
Oh, thank you. You know, I noticed a few of the shots that I myself worked on back in the day, and I was actually seeing little specks of dust that I missed.
You motherfucker.
I fucked it all up.
It's funny, I saw more dust and scratches in La La Land, which was shot on film.
Oh, that was the film? Okay.
Yeah, there was like film, the hair's like jittering on the edge of the frame in some shots in that movie. I was like,
Fucking
check the
film
gate.
nerds.
Check the gate, you asshole.
Ryan
Get the film out
Johnson
of there.
and Damien Chazelle.
Yeah.
Fucking film nerds.
Seriously.
I'd
Anyway.
rather be a video nerd.
I have absolutely nothing to say about this movie besides I don't think any of you should watch it.
Maybe on
it
YouTube
might-
there are some good clips of Beef, because he's funny. But maybe
think
not intentionally.
It might actually be lower than I expected. I can't give it like a 1. I can't.
I gave it 3 out of 27, which really is 1 out of 9.
I would say this is a 2.5.
I would give it like a 2.
But I feel like I'm insulting other movies that are 3s. So, I don't know. But I can't say it's lower than that because I know I've seen much worse.
It is what it is. It's from a very particular time and place.
A terrifying one.
Yeah.
A very terrifying one.
If you lived through the 70s in Manitoba, Canada, maybe you love this movie.
If you've seen this movie and you like it, I want to hear why you like it.
Yeah, come on. Get on the forums and tell us why.
Get on the forums. Go on Twitter. Tell the world why you love this movie, because I'm confused why it was restored. I have a theory that it was paid for by Brian DePalma himself.
I don't think so.
Like, maybe, man, I really want to see Phantom again. Can somebody clean that shit up? Here's a lot of money.
Work on that for 3 months and then I'll watch it someday.
How much do you think the restoration cost?
I don't fucking know. I mean, a lot. It's always a lot.
I mean, you guys aren't cheap.
No, I mean, there were we got in some projects that were just quick and dirty, like just do one pass, don't even go back to find more dirt.
Yeah.
Just,
Get it out
don't
there.
work backwards.
Was this
on
one
the
of them, or
forums.
did you guys actually...
This one was one that took a lot of work.
Really?
Not like an exceptional amount of work.
Because
it wasn't all that dirty,
I've
actually.
never even seen, every single day, when I'm just, waiting for a shot to render, I'll pull up Blu-ray.com, and I'll just surf through whatever's on sale for the day.
Mm-hmm.
I have not seen this movie once in my life.
Pop up on there. I mean,
For sale.
I got this. This
And
was
you got
one
it for free.
This was one from the bingo game, probably 2 years ago now, maybe a year and a half, but
Wow.
more than a year ago. It's been out a while. And of course, I was doing that restoration work like 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago.
Right.
So it's probably been out for even longer than I think. Maybe you missed it. Maybe that's a failing of yours.
It could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
But I think they spent a decent amount of money on this. They got it looking pretty good. I seem to remember the bigger problem was not so much dirt, but scratches on this one, and those were a pain to deal with.
Yeah. A little bit harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's put a bow on this fucker.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Maybe if I do drugs for once in my
Maybe
life, I'll listen to the commentary
You should vet
track.
the movies from now.
No, I'm not gonna vet nothing.
God damn it, Mark. All right. That's it. I got nothing.
Okay, I'm glad we
Alright.
did this.
Yeah, me too.
Now we don't have to ever again.
Thank God.
Woo!
Ah.
Bye.